भारत में हर 22 मिनट एक महिला का रेप होता है। 2018 में थॉमसन रॉयटर के स्टडी के मुताबिक महिला सुरक्षा के मामले में भारत सबसे असुरक्षित देश है।
What you just saw is not just an advertisement. It's the sad reality of India. 20 years ago, riots broke in Gujarat. The rioters attacked Bilkis Banu and her family. Bilkis Banu survived, but most of the other women were raped and many of them were killed. This heinous crime was taken up by National Human Rights Commission and Supreme Court, and later it was transferred to CBI. 11 men were convicted and were sentenced to life imprisonment. But this case doesn't just end here. In 2017, Bombay High Court confirmed the life sentences of those 11 people and they were set free. Those people who killed and raped 14 members of Bilkis Banu's family were set free. The society responded to this strongly. In a recent statement released by Bilkis Banu herself, she said, "How can justice for any woman end like this?" She said she trusted the highest courts of our land, she trusted the system, but only got betrayed. She was severely scared and she even asked the court to give back her right to live without fear. India boasts to have a very secular, indiscriminate constitution. Still, in our land, a woman had to request a court for a basic right such as a right to live without fear. Many politicians, well-known celebrities and even civil servants responded to this and supported Bilkis Banu. One of the civil servants, Smita Sabarwal, even said that India cannot be declared as a free nation if the people does not have the right to breathe free. She even said that a crime should be treated with punishment, but in India, people treat a crime with praise.
Okay, so in this segment we are going to see that how Bilkis Banu case is a social problem of India. Now Bilkis Banu and her efforts at Supreme Court of India in attaining justice symbolizes the effort of every rape convict as well as every rape accused in the justice system. Her continued efforts in attaining a justice, her continued appeal in the Supreme Court of India will justify and will also be a testimony that how Indian criminal justice system will treat and see rape convict in the future. We see that Bilkis Banu will find herself connected with all the masses of women in India. We see that there was a huge responses from all the segments, civil servants, as well as from the women segment, especially in India. So we see that Bilkis Banu find herself connected with all the women, particularly in India. Now we are going to answer one of the very prominent question, that is procedure following is same as being justice done. Whether I should put in this frame that is following law is same as doing justice. Answer to this question lies in the speech which was given by Honorable Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud at National Law University, and he says that while delivering justice, a feminist approach has to be taken into the account.
Never lead yourself into the trap that the law is bereft of ideology. Nothing is further from the truth. I would like to particularly advise you to incorporate feminist thinking in the way you deal with the law.
That means that emotions and law can never be separated. If you want to do justice, you don't have to barely follow the law. You have to bring the emotions in you. So that's the answers to the question. In order to have a deeper understanding about the people perception about Bilkis Banu case and to get a deeper insight about law versus sentiment, we conducted a survey majorly from IIT Kanpur participant, and the result is as follows.
So coming to the survey part of the project, a Google form was circulated among the ITK students and the questions were put in the form of a linear scale. There were a total of 58 responses on 6 questions. So the scale was a linear one which ranged from 1 to 5 with 1 denoting strongly disagree and 5 denoting strongly agree. So the first question was that in the context of Bilkis Banu case, how much do you comply with the court's decision of releasing the convicts? Most of the answers were on the side of disagree, which matches with the responses of the opinion of the people all across India. The second question was that do you think that the government was externally influenced politically or by a particular group while making its decision? Well, most of the answers agreed to this question, denoting that they do believe that the government was influenced externally while making its decision. So we can see the mean and standard deviation denoting how the responses were. Coming to the third question, the government released the convicts stating that they completed 14 years and above in prison and their behavior was found to be good. So is a person who carried out such a heinous crime capable of changing? The answers were evenly distributed here. They were not biased in either of the directions. So nothing conclusive could be made out of here. Should rapists in cases this severe be punished with a death penalty? Well, most of the people agreed with this question and they did believe that the rapists of cases like these should be punished with a death penalty. Once again, the mean and the standard deviation denoting the answers. The fifth question, in India, quite often a life convict is granted remission after 14 years. Does this show the Indian criminal justice system in low light? And most of the answers agreed with this question, that indeed the decisions of such kind show the Indian criminal justice system in low light. And the last question, should public sentiments be considered while reviewing the penalty of a convicted felon? The answers were not biased once again and nothing conclusive could be made from the answers. Once again, the mean and standard deviation showing what the answers were pointing towards. The observations from the survey. So the majority of the population thinks that the remission policy of the Indian justice system is liberal. Also, majority of the population thinks that convicts of this serious crime should be adjudged with death penalties, should be given punishments like electric chair or hanging by the neck till death. On the questions if persons committing heinous crime are capable of changing and should public sentiments be considered in judicial hearings, the opinions were evenly spread and not biased in either of the directions. And finally, in the context of Bilkis Banu case, most feel that it was wrong done to the victim in case of the state government decision to release the convicts.
So, as part of the survey, we also asked people if they would like to give their opinions on some of these questions. We are fortunate enough to get one response. So here we have with us Suhani, who is a student here at IIT Kanpur. She is also secretary at Women's Cell and a COTI member of SNT Council. So let's see what she has to tell about the re-admission policy of our government.
Hi, I'm Suhani and I recently read about the case of Bilkis Banu where the 11 convicts who gang raped the woman and her family were recently released on account of good behavior. So the first thing that came to my mind after reading this case was that these 14 years, were they enough to entirely change the personality of these 11 people, the people who once had such a horrific and very brutal mindset? So, and what exactly the procedure did our government follow to verify that yes, the personality change was real, and that too in entire 11 of them? So the probability of that is very low, and I'm not just able to completely trust the decision that they took. And another point is that when I think from the perspective of that woman, I can just feel that how unsafe she would be feeling right now in this country, just knowing that the people who gang raped her and her family and shattered her entire life are just set free to roam in this country. And this case is just about a conflict between what our law says and what actual justice is there. The justice which makes any person of our country feel secure and trust in our system, that yes, the system is there to protect us. And it's not just about that woman, it's about every woman of our country, that how safe she feels whenever she goes out alone or in any case. It's about the trust on our system. So I certainly think that amendments are needed in our constitution so that it could encompass justice, and it just doesn't compromise on social grounds. So yeah, that was my opinion on this case.
We ultimately try to answer the questions: what should we aspire in our criminal justice system, empathy or emotional intelligence? In context of Bilkis Banu case, one giving approval to convicts clearly lacks empathy. There might be failure to gauge the pain of victims has led to passing to such orders. A certain section of people may pose an argument that one who are opposing release of Bilkis Banu rape convict are not emotionally intelligent. The one criticizing the bail might not be identify the emotion of anger and frustration among people. A balance between two, emotional intelligence and empathy. Balance between two in the administrative functioning and policy making and in taking judgments is the conflict perspective, class, crime and the criminal justice system. The law as an instrument of oppression. Conflict theorists regard power and social inequality as the main characteristic of society. They stress that the power elite uses the criminal justice system to protect its position of power and privilege. The idea that the law operates impartially to bring justice, they say, is a cultural myth promoted by the capitalist class. If we were to believe the political angle referred with this case, it's a clear-cut demonstration and assertion of conflict perspective.
Okay, so we are now going to discuss the Bilkis Banu case in the sociological manner. We are trying to invoke the function theory here. The function theory states that deviance clarifies moral boundaries and affirms norms. So we see that as present, Indian society is not at all ready to accept rape as a normalized thing. We see that all the people are protesting. That means we as a society are not in a position to normalize rape as of now. The second point of functional theory is that deviance promotes social unity. We have seen that all these sections of women, whether it is whether it is political, whether it is belong to entertainment industry, stand united against the Bilkis Banu case verdict. So we see that deviance in a sense is promoting social unity among the women masses of India.